Welcome back to the Upper Tier Podcast, the football podcast we bring you each and every day on the Dynamo Podcast Network. Head over to YouTube, smash that subscribe and bell notification button. Also, audio version show available on Anchor. And if you want to contact the show, you'll find us on Facebook, Instagram, and Twitter. Joining me for our match reaction, Man United 2, Liverpool 4. Joining me, Dean. How are you, my man?
We're back.
Bobby Firmino, huh?
Jesus, I forgot he even played for Liverpool up until those 2 goals.
Awesome. Darren also joined us. Darren, you were the only Man United fan to come on. Apparently, Mark is out purchasing Calpol. I don't know whether it's for the kid or it's for himself. I'm not too sure, but he's busy out purchasing Calpol, so you won't be able to join us tonight. Darren, we'll start with you. Go on. What did you think of the game?
It was just nuts, man. Wasn't it from start to finish? Really, like it had everything other than the red card, I suppose. Yeah, I thought we started off really well. Obviously getting the goal and stuff like that. And for the first 20 minutes, I kind of thought, Jesus, because as a United fan, obviously, we've been a slightly inferior side than Liverpool have over the last couple of years. And for the first 20, 25 minutes, I thought to myself, we look like we're actually going out to win this game. Because previous to that, a lot of the games we played against Liverpool, it was about spoiling, you know, and it was about getting men behind the ball and stuff like that. But tonight, I thought, Jesus, they're having a go. They must fancy themselves, you know. And then, of course, it started to unravel. I see a couple of comments there from United fans, you know, and they're kind of saying, you don't know what you have until it's gone. And it's true. Maguire was badly missed there tonight. You know, Lindelof is poor at the best of times. Boy makes some just mental decisions, just mental, like for a centre-back. You're kind of thinking, you're the last line of defence before the goalkeeper. Why do you make these absolutely mental decisions and cost your team, you know, goals and points ultimately?
Yeah. Dan, come on in. It's not often we've been on this podcast where we've had an opportunity to kind of celebrate a little bit.
Cause to celebrate, but you know yourself, there's nothing gained yet. It's a massive win, like an absolutely massive win. Andy Robertson said yesterday, he says, how many times do we want the door left open that we're not gonna walk through it? Tonight was a case of, we knew this was our final opportunity, and I think we've seen that in each to a man. Alisson first 10-15 minutes looked a bit iffy on the ball. I think once we settled down, Darren, can I just ask you, did you see anything in the United players tonight, knowing that the league was gone, that they kind of dropped off the tempo a bit? Because my brother was up watching the game, and he said the same. He said if this game meant anything, the result would have been completely different. And I couldn't help but agree, because when United got back to 3-2, and my dad looked at me, he says, it's just going to happen again. And I think the case of us getting the 4th goal on the break was because United were pushing at the equaliser, because they smelt a bit of blood. But do you think that because the league was gone, that you dropped the intensity?
I think obviously getting to the Europa League final, you know, plays a big part. I think, you know, it's hard to say for sure, but if there's a 50-50 tackle there to be had, do you go into it now and you might get a whack and all of a sudden you're not in your European final? You know what I mean? It's not something I do, but you don't know how fellas are thinking. And, you know, obviously there's spots to be played for, because we don't know if Maguire's going to make it or not. You've the Chuckle brothers at the back. I was surprised, I have to say. If you watched the Leicester game the other night, you know, you didn't have a great game, but our standout player for me was Tuanzebe. He had a great game.
Surprised he didn't come on.
I was shocked. I really was. I thought he might have even started with him and gone with a back three, you know, of Tuanzebe, Lindelof and Boy, because he's done that in the games against Liverpool. Have the 2 wing backs, short up in midfield and play 2 up top. And, you know, but he went out and he thought he was obviously going to have a bash at it. But the lads just weren't there for it, you know. They really weren't. It looked like the heads were down. And
I thought he would have started Greenwood, because Greenwood is so young. He's got that confidence behind him, you know what I mean? Rashford, he's coming and going in games now, but I think Rashford needs a big break, and down to the Euros isn't going to help with him. But just going back to Niall, we were saying about having cause for celebration. thought everybody really stood up tonight. They knew this was a final chance, and I think the way the first game went and being cancelled, and then Klopp was definitely saying if they couldn't be motivated for tonight, then you may as well give up, because the way the last week has gone since the cancellation of the first game, everyone kind of backed us into a corner. The way United played against the team they put out against Leicester the other night, if we lost tonight, that was it. It was done and dusted. We had to step up tonight. Now I know, as I said to Darren there, like the intensity kind of didn't seem to be there with United and fits and starts in the game, but thought Thiago was immense again tonight. Nat Phillips, there's nothing he could do about the own goal. Thought he really stood up tonight. Probably for me, no doubt for me, unbelievable. Like, I genuinely, he doesn't even cross my mind anymore. Like, he's just been so bad this season. To step up tonight was really, really good.
Trent
was
immense.
Trent was great tonight.
Even the young lad Reece Williams, unbelievable at the back.
Unbelievable. You know what I mean? But one thing I will say though, as I said to you before Darren came on, was when it got back to 3-2, and I was screaming at the telly, I was like, please put Fabinho back into centre half, because they're gonna get an equaliser here. Lucky enough we got the goal. You could see the relief in Salah when he scored. Like, that's a massive, massive win. That's Klopp's first win at Old Trafford. And if we do get top four, like, Jesus Christ, we'd probably be the luckiest team on planet Earth this season. If the way the season has gone, we've lost 6 of the bottom 7. You know what I mean? We've kind of shot ourselves in the foot every opportunity we had. If we can get top 4 now, Jesus Christ, man, it's like, that's nearly as good as winning the league for us.
Absolutely, with the season we've had. The one thing I was encouraged by, it was great to see the United players back nice and refreshed from their break in the Caribbean, you know what I mean? So that was really, really good, that they had a nice long rest and they came back looking well up for it and stuff like that and all, No, I just think, I looked at that United side tonight, and we played as good as we can play considering the pool of players we have available to us. But I just think with the United side, did they look a bit tired? Did they look between a bit of tiredness and one eye, I think, on the Europa League? I think, Darren, you're right. I think the usual guys that are in there, the likes of Shaw, the likes of Bruno, Pogba, those guys still put in a bit of a shift and they still put the building. But even Cavani was putting tackles in, But like, if you've only 3 lads or 4 lads on your team that are putting the tackles in, and all the other lads are thinking about the Europa League final, you're gonna get found out. There's no doubt about it.
Yeah, 100%. I thought Pogba was absolutely dreadful though.
Yeah.
If I'm honest, I thought he was horrific. At half time, I jumped out to take the bins out, and the lad across the road is a Liverpool fan, and he was doing his bins at the same time, so we were having a little bit of a yap, and he was like, "What on earth does he bring to that side?" And I have to say, like, recently he's had some big performance for us, and he's played really well on the left and stuff like that. But tonight he went missing a little bit. Again, I know I heard the lads talk about it on Sky, and Martin Tyler was asking Gary Neville, he was saying, what do you think about Bruno? Does he go missing in the big games? And like, I think at the minute you'd have to say, the jury is out a little bit on the big games. There's the bloke always shows up against, Burnley and Bladen, Sheffield United. But how many goals outside of penalties has he got against the top 6? Tonight's an OG. I don't think the ball's going in. I think at best it's clipping the post and it's probably popping back out. But yeah, I just thought he was lackluster. I do think they look absolutely drained. So
they both kind of got smothered tonight, didn't they? Every time they were on the ball, there was 2 green jerseys around them straight away. Every single time they picked up the ball, they were getting harassed. I don't know how many times there was 2 or 3 players around Pogba, and he was still trying to dribble around and do his little flicks and tricks, and the 3 lads just upended him and took the ball off him, like, you know what I mean? And I just think, that's where you need that kind of maturity there from a Paul Pogba to grab hold of the ball, move it around, play it back, do the simple thing instead of just, giving it up so easy. And I think you touched on it, Darren, in the first 20 minutes, we were giving the ball away so easy. Our passing was atrocious at times. But I was also encouraged tonight to see Robbo back. very close to what we know Robbo is. Because we haven't seen much of that this season either. He seems to be a bit tired and a bit jaded as well. So it was good to see him back and up for the battle. And that's what we need for the next 3 to 4 games, whatever amount of games we have left, 3 games. We need that in all those 3 games. And I think if we bring what we brought tonight to those 3 games, if we can win them, I think we'll get top 4. I think we'll be okay.
Sunday again. Like Sunday's as big as a Liverpool Man United game now.
It's another cup final.
We've 3 World Cup finals now.
Yeah.
The West Brom are gonna they're gone down now, so they want to just express themselves because there's no pressure there now. Same with Burnley. I'm not gonna say I'm confident of getting the 9 points that we need, but if anything is gonna give us a confidence boost, it's going to Old Trafford and winning for the first time under Klopp, because regardless of the situation, regardless of what way United were feeling with the league being gone and all, we still had to go and win that game. You know what I mean? United score nearly put a heap load of pressure on us, and I'm just hoping that did you see with Mane at the end of the game there, Klopp trying to give him the old hug and Mane just kind of brushed him off, didn't want to know. You need that now. He came out openly and said he's not been playing well. Everyone knows now that this is 3 big, massive, next season. This defines their season next year. You know what I mean? It's all well and good saying if you're not in the Champions League, you can have a free run at the Champions League. I've said before, I'm never happy with that situation. You want to be challenging for everything. It's as simple as that. So the way I look at it is, I'm looking at the fixtures there now. Leicester have Chelsea and Spurs. Chelsea have Leicester and Villa. We have West Brom, Burnley and Palace, and then West Ham have Brighton, West Brom and Southampton. Even if we win 3 games, we still might not get Champions League football. But as I said, it's heads down, eyes up, blinkers on. It's down into war time.
Yeah, well, you see, the key game is Chelsea-Leicester, isn't it, on Tuesday? That's the big game. Yeah. I know they have the cup final at the weekend, but the big one is on Tuesday now. That's going to define the top 4, really. Darren, I often find with teams, I mean, you are in a decent vein of form there now, and you had a couple of good results. As you said, Pogba was playing very well, more like the Pogba that we know. And I often find with managers, when they have teams humming like that, just keep them going. There's only 3 games to go to the end of the season or whatever it is, plus the Europa League final. Just keep it going. Don't give players a rest. What's the point in giving players a rest at this stage? It really just breaks the momentum. We've seen it before, even at Liverpool, when we've been absolutely flying, hammering teams and putting them to bed last season. And then for some reason or another, Klopp will turn around and he changed it up slightly, and we'd end up pissing away a draw or something like that, because you break your momentum. Because players, when they're in form, want to play. They're never going to tell you that they're tired, even if they are tired. They always want to play. And I couldn't really understand the decision about resting players, because if you, as we said the other night on the matchup or whatever, or the midweek, if you think about Rashford, I mean, he's been playing him all season injured. You know what I mean? So it's just, and then he brought him on anyway. So it was kind of like, what's the point to it? Would you not just continue that rich vein of form and that level that you were playing at and bring that all the way to a Europa League, rather than trying to avoid a situation, you know?
And I think sometimes managers, especially if you look at the Leicester game, he decided to make the changes pre-game, right? For me, is it not an idea, go out, get a goal, maybe get 2 goals, and then be able to take lads off after you've got a result in the bag, rather than making 10 changes, and then with half an hour to go, having to shovel the boys off the bench, and you've only got 3 subs, and say, right, lads, go out and put on your capes there and save the tables, will you? Yeah. Do you know what I mean? It is mad. It's frustrating as a fan. Like on Friday or Tuesday when I seen that team, I could nearly take it out my phone and thrown a few quid on Leicester at that stage. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah. Well, so you're looking now, you're on the back of a bad result against Leicester. You're on the back now of a horrible result against us, your rivals, when you think about it, the rivalry in the Premier League. And even that 4-2 scoreline, I was saying to Dean before we came on, that flattered United, that 4-2 scoreline, without a shadow of a doubt. And now he has to try and raise those boys up again now for whatever other game is coming, and then try and bring that into a Europa League. So it's like he sort of has broken the momentum that you had of, Pogba playing really well, Bruno playing really well, as Dean alluded to, Greenwood, why does he drop lads when they play? These lads are putting in an 8, 9 out of 10, and he drops them. Like, what's Greenwood thinking after that Leicester or after that game at the weekend, and he drops him? You know what I mean?
I just want to say something there, just Darren, before you say, I was talking to my dad, and my dad collected me from work, just purposely because the game was on. He was like, "Look, get home, we have a few beers, what have you?" I was telling him about yourself, that you're a season ticket holder. I said, I'd love you to actually sit down with a guy, Darren McComiskey. He's a United season ticket holder. He's the only United fan I've come across this season that speaks sense. But he said the same thing about Tuesday. He said, if Solskjaer comes into that changing room after this game and criticises the lads about their performance, all it's going to take is one senior player to turn around and said, look, you showed on Tuesday night it was okay to lose a game of football. And that's it. He made that decision on Tuesday night to go with that team. And exactly what Darren said, why not stick out the first team, try and get a goal or two up, and then take players off? What's the point in playing throwing 11 players together, like lads that aren't even involved in the first team squad, like your man Alanga and what have you, and then bring on Fernandes and bring on Cavani? What is the point in that? They're not going to change anything in the game.
Yeah, I thought it was very short-sighted. Now I have to say, I wasn't. Obviously you see the team and you think, for me, I love seeing the likes of Alanga and the likes of Ahmad, but there was other times you could have seen them. Like, we were away at Roma and we were thumping them 8-4, and he could have got lads off the bench then, and he's bringing on Matic, and he's thinking, just, there's a time and a place to give these lads an opportunity. And I don't agree with, and I know United fans kind of give out a little bit on Tuesday night. Alanga didn't have a good game and Ahmad didn't have a good game. I know they didn't, but they were also playing next to Donny, who hasn't had a good season. Matic, who couldn't pass water. It was a really bad side. So when you're going to give these young fellas a chance, give them a chance next to Pogba. Give them a chance next to Fernandes, so you can see what level they can get to. Don't put them into the second 11 and then see them, get beaten on Tuesday night. And then they're going, and knock their confidence as well. Because at that age, coming through can be difficult, and you need a couple of good performances, and the fans to get behind you for you to go, you know what, I can fucking do this, And it was short-sighted, man.
I think the whole week has shown the naivety of Ole Gunnar Solskjaer really as a manager, hasn't it? When you think about it, because he was so consumed. I think it's his hatred for Liverpool, not dissimilar to Ferguson, but his hatred for Liverpool overshadowed his proper thinking when you think about it. I mean, if you want to rest your players, then why didn't he rest them tonight as well? Because it was a nothing game for United, only it was a rivalry, a bragging rights, which means nothing when you're staring into a second place in the league that you have nearly sewn up for the Champions League spot, and you're going into a Europa League final. So why would you risk players tonight? I mean, you seen Bruno tonight could have got a bad knock, went over on his ankle once or twice, I think. All that happens is that they go bad once, and then he's out of that Europa League final. Maguire's walking around with a big plastic boot on his leg. Who knows whether he's going to be ready for it or not?
It looked like Bailey came off with an injury too.
So this is all stuff that comes back to bite you when you try and play that smart, cagey way of doing things. And I just think,
it did look a little bit like, he was playing up to the fans slightly. He went and put the second string out against Leicester, dropped the points, which would have affected Liverpool, and then tried to double down on it and beat us and really go, where he's playing next year, lads. Thursday night, enjoy it. And it's blown up in his face a little bit, and I mean, if Liverpool do end up getting top four, you look at the situation in the summer. Obviously, financially, this is going to be a strange summer for everyone because we don't know what way the market's going to be, whether the money is going to be there. I hear lots of talk that there's going to be a lot of these trades on the table, where it's a player plus cash deal and stuff like that. And lads are trying to get rid of fellas and stuff like that. And you don't want to be going into a market where you want a player and like Liverpool want a player, maybe the same player. And if we're about the Champions League, it's a straight shootout. Whereas if we're in the Champions League and they're not, it's an easy enough decision. Do you know what I mean?
There's huge ramifications for us not being in the Champions League without a shadow of a doubt in terms of our drawing power for certain players and stuff like that. No, But I just think with Ollie, just the naivety of him, he just got overshadowed. And now, when you think about these last two performances, he has a massive job now to pick those players up and get them ready for a Europa League final. Massive job.
I think, you shouldn't really have a big job getting lads up for a European final, so to speak, like that. I'd imagine it's a game that most of our lads will, really have their teeth out for, because it is a game where they can go and showcase themselves. They're in a final. They're not playing against Barcelona. They're not playing against Real Madrid. We're going to go and dominate possession there. We're going to probably create chances. And if we keep it semi tight at the back, we should beat Villarreal. Do you know what I mean? So I think that's a game where our lads can almost go and enjoy themselves. But there is the whole thing of, you should have maybe kept the confidence rolling. A team that's, not been beaten in a few games is a lot easier, more difficult to beat than a team that's just had two on the bounce,
Yeah, I think you'd rather be going into a final like that with the team that was on that roll. You know what I mean? Yeah. And that's where I see the problem. You know what I mean? I just think, what's he going to do now if you have a match at the weekend? I'm not too sure. Is he going to play the kids again in the last two games?
Yeah, I'd say again you'll get another smattering of some of the younger lads. Ahmad was on the bench tonight. I know we're talking about Ahmad being a young lad and stuff like that. He's only slightly younger than Greenwood, and we paid 38 million for the kid. No, I know he obviously needs time to settle, and he's only come in January, whatever it was, but it's still we're expecting massive things from this lad. So, I've no problems in putting a lad like that out on the pitch and giving him a spin. Our biggest problem at the minute for me is that we're trying to shoehorn players into positions. We're trying to create, we're playing Pogba on the left. The only position Rashford fits into our team is on the left. If you play Rashford on the right, he's ineffective. If you play him up through the middle, he's very ineffective. So the only way Rashford can play for us is if he plays on the left. Your problem then is if you put Pogba back into a two, we get mauled because, he wasn't put the shift in as part of a two. And I heard the lads again talking about it tonight. The balance isn't always there at times. And that's something that we're going to have to address in the summer. As big a player as Pogba is, are we at times trying to squeeze him into a team?
I was just going to say that, Darren. I was just going to say that you look at Lampard at Chelsea trying to fit players into a starting system. Doesn't work. You bring in a manager who has a bit of experience, and look what's happened at Chelsea. As much as I hate United and you don't want to see them being successful, they need a manager that's not naive in selection, and he's not putting players in for the sake of having them in a team. When, as Darren said, when Rashford goes out to the left, United play a whole different. When they put Greenwood on tonight, Rashford went out to the left. They play a whole different, completely different way. And that's when I was saying to you, when they got the 3-2, I was these are going to get a draw, could even go on and win the game. Because when they go into that system, they're just all out. They just go at you. There's no slouching. Nobody's falling short. That's the thing with Solskjaer. We've seen it the last 5 or 6 weeks, how naive he is. Team selections, prioritising certain fixtures over others. If I'm a United fan, you got to another European final, you're second in the league and what have you, but it's going to come to a time where decisions going to need to be made. If there's a big name available, it's Man United at the end of the day. They're one of the biggest clubs in the world. They can go out and lure any manager into the club. You know what I mean? It's going to come to a point where they need to turn around and say, is Solskjaer the man to win us a league title? Because as a Liverpool fan, I don't think he is.
The only thing I will say is, I don't believe that there's absolute aces on the table at the minute in when we talk about managers. All right, for me, hands down, the two best managers in the world for me are Guardiola and Klopp. I don't like saying it. I've said it to Noel in the past. When I look at Liverpool, I don't see a team of stars. I see a team. And the biggest star that Liverpool have at the club is Jurgen Klopp, for me. Yeah. I would see, if they lose a Salah, if they lose a Mane, would I be as worried if they lost a Klopp? I'd be way more worried if Klopp left as a Liverpool fan, And I don't know, who United could go out for. Nagelsmann's on his way to Bayern. Flick is going to Germany. You've Klopp, you've you've Guardiola. Like, who else out there is a marquee manager right now?
Yeah.
Well, if the club was brave enough to make the decision on Ollie, you could have got Tuchel.
Could they? I don't know. I don't know if he was in the thinking. Like, I wouldn't say I'm a massive fan of Tuchel. You know, I think he's doing well at the minute with Chelsea. He's got that new manager kick and he's tightening things up at the back and stuff like that. He played a different formation, but I wouldn't judge them just yet. I'd like to see them 18 months down the road and see where they were. You know, that league in France with PSG is, you know, like, we could win that. Let's be honest. Like, it's a very poor league. They, week after week, they put out half a team. You know, they pull the boys off the bench when they feel like it, and they usually end up winning it. Now, I know Lille look like they might pip them this season, but I don't know who else you go for, to be honest with you, man.
Yeah, everyone seems tired of it at the moment.
But Matt, like, I'm just using that as an example of Ole's inexperience. But speaking of managers, not, I think we'll all agree collectively, like, the standard of football in Europe across all leagues has dropped drastically. And for me, that's why Man City and Chelsea are in Champions League final. Because if you throw them in the deep end with Madrid of, say, 4 or 5 years ago, throw them into the mixer with Barcelona from that Pep Guardiola golden era, throw them in with United of 99. Chelsea and City aren't getting anywhere near Champions League. And I've had debates with City fans and I've had debates with Chelsea fans, and obviously they're not going to accept what I have to say. But for me, I watch a lot of European football. The standard across Europe has dropped dramatically.
Yeah. Well, you could see it. I mean, you could see it even in the points totals in the league. I mean, look at what points total is going to win the league this year. We lost the league with 98 points. Lost the league with 98 points. You know what I mean? So I think when you look at the points totals, they're way down this year. Look
at Spain. Look at La Liga. You know, you have 4 teams in the league. You have Barca, you have Sevilla, you have Real, and you have Atletico. And literally any one of those 4 can still win this. You know, it's never been this close. And is it a thing that this Atletico team and this Sevilla team are amazing?
Yeah.
I don't think so. I think it's a really poor Barca Madrid team. Now, the only, because I was thinking about this at the weekend, you know, and I was saying to myself, you know, if Solskjaer left tomorrow, who could you bring in? And I've probably only got 2 names. And Julian Lopetegui at Sevilla is one of them. He's got a bit of pedigree there. He's been successful in Europe and stuff like that. He took that Spain job. He was absolutely hammered to the cross over the Madrid thing, you know. But tactically, I think he's excellent. And the other one is Conte. Yeah. You look at Conte and what he's after doing at Chelsea, what he's doing at Inter now, what he did at Juve. Like, Conte is beginning to become a serial winner with sides.
Are the outgoing lad at Roma, no?
Fonseca?
Yeah.
Fonseca.
Not a chance. I wouldn't touch him with a barge, Paul, man.
No? You wouldn't fancy him?
No. Not at all.
What happened with Conte was he just fell foul to the system at Chelsea. They just need league after league after league after league. Look what he's gone. He's gone and broke the dominance of Juventus. And they look like, right. The fact that they've lost the league there looks like it's just shattered the whole club from top to bottom. You look at that Juventus squad. That's up there with any squad in football. And for Inter Milan, who were relying predominantly on winning that league to stay afloat as a football club, you know what I mean? The pressure on that team.
Inter won that league, obviously, the weekend, you know, and I had a little peep, a few results and bits and bobs, but I did look at the Juve squad, and it's not a Juve squad of years before. Like, you've got Chiellini there, he's on his last legs. You've got Buffon, he's on his last.
You have Darren on the Wi-Fi, and he's on his last legs on his air Wi-Fi.
It's the end of your plan, looking for an easy way out.
Oh, I tell you. Well, listen, it's been a pleasure. What can we say about United fans? Class, isn't it? Until next time, head over to YouTube, Dynamo Podcast Network. This has been your Man United Liverpool match reaction.
Come on, you Reds.
Come on, you Reds. Top 4 races back on. Let's be having you. Let's do this. Talk to you again, Dino. Cheers, bud.
See you later, Nilesh.